Have you ever wondered what's happening behind those luminous eyes when your cat stares at you from across the room? What thoughts drift through their mind as they sit motionless at the window, tail twitching, watching birds that exist just beyond reach? In the quiet moments when they curl beside you, purring softly, what dreams do they dream? What memories do they hold? What understanding do they possess of this world we share? Welcome to Bedtime Biology, where science meets serenity. Each night, we explore the quiet wonders of the natural world, calming your mind and sparking your curiosity. If you like these videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and commenting below if you have any feedback or suggestions for topics of future episodes. Tonight, we're stepping into a realm that exists right beside us, yet remains largely mysterious. We're venturing inside the mind of a house cat. These creatures have lived alongside humans for over 10,000 years, weaving themselves into our homes, our hearts, our daily routines. Yet, despite this long companionship, despite sharing our beds and our meals, the inner workings of the feline mind have remained surprisingly enigmatic. But science is beginning to unlock these secrets, revealing a cognitive landscape far richer and more complex than most ever imagined. What we'll discover is that beneath that soft fur and those elegant movements lies a brain of remarkable sophistication, a mind capable of forming lasting memories that span decades, of recognizing emotions in the faces and voices of those they know, of dreaming elaborate scenes during their many hours of sleep. We'll explore how cats perceive a world invisible to us, painted in colors we cannot see, filled with sounds beyond our hearing, saturated with scents that tell stories we'll never know. And we'll uncover the truth about their intelligence, their capacity for learning, their ability to form genuine emotional bonds. So settle in as we journey through the neural pathways, the sensory systems, the mysterious depths of consciousness that make a cat unmistakably a cat. Let the day's worries fade as we turn our attention to these remarkable creatures and discover just how much is happening inside that small, elegant head. The brain of a house cat fits comfortably in the palm of your hand. At roughly 2 inches in length, weighing between 25 and 31 grams, about the weight of 5 nickels, it occupies less than 1% of the cat's total body mass. By comparison, the human brain represents roughly 2.3% of our body weight, over twice the proportion. Yet this small organ, no bigger than a walnut, contains within it a universe of processing power that continues to astonish researchers who study it. When scientists first began examining the feline brain in detail, they discovered something unexpected. The structure of a cat's brain, the way it's organized, the patterns of folding on its surface, shares a 90% similarity with the human brain. This isn't a trivial resemblance. It means that at a fundamental architectural level, cats and humans process information in remarkably similar ways. Both brains are what scientists call drurencephalic, meaning their surfaces are folded into ridges and valleys. These folds aren't decorative. They exist to maximize surface area, allowing more neurons to be packed into a confined space, creating greater processing power without requiring a proportionally larger skull. Within that compact structure, a cat's brain holds approximately 300 million neurons in the cerebral cortex alone. To put this in perspective, that's nearly twice the number found in a dog's brain, which contains roughly 160 million cortical neurons. These neurons form vast, interconnected networks, creating pathways for thought, memory, sensation, and decision-making. Every moment of a cat's life, billions of tiny electrical signals race through these networks at speeds that would make our fastest computers envious, processing the constant flood of information from the world around them. The brain divides into 3 main regions, each serving distinct but interconnected functions. The cerebrum, the largest portion, handles conscious processing and decision-making. This is where a cat's personality resides, where choices are made, where experiences are interpreted and stored. The cerebral cortex, that outermost layer we mentioned, wraps around this region like a blanket, and it's here that the real magic happens. Different areas specialize in different tasks. The frontal lobe handles learning and coordinates movement. The temporal lobe processes memories and regulates emotions. The occipital lobe manages vision. The parietal lobe interprets sensory information from touch, temperature, and spatial awareness. Interestingly, while cats and humans share similar brain structures, the proportions differ in telling ways. A cat's frontal lobe comprises only 3 to 3.5% of their total brain volume, compared to about 25% in humans. The frontal lobe in humans is responsible for complex planning, abstract reasoning, and language. Cats, lacking these specific needs, have evolved a different emphasis. Instead, they've dedicated proportionally more brain matter to other regions that serve their particular lifestyle and survival needs. The cerebellum, located at the back of the brain, deserves special attention. In cats, this structure is proportionally larger than in many other animals, including humans. The cerebellum orchestrates movement with extraordinary precision. It's the reason a cat can leap from the floor to a high shelf in a single fluid motion, landing exactly where intended. It's why they can walk along the narrowest of ledges without faltering, why they can twist their bodies mid-fall to land on their feet, why their movements possess that characteristic feline grace that seems almost liquid. Every time a cat performs one of these incredible athletic feats, it's the cerebellum working in concert with the rest of the brain, calculating angles, adjusting muscle tension, maintaining perfect balance. The brainstem connects the brain to the spinal cord and controls the automatic functions that keep a cat alive. Heart rate, breathing, blood pressure, all these vital processes are regulated here without conscious thought. It includes structures like the medulla oblongata and the pons, which work together to maintain the body's internal environment, ensuring that life continues smoothly even when the conscious mind is focused elsewhere, or lost in sleep. But perhaps one of the most fascinating aspects of the feline brain is how it processes and integrates information. Scientists have discovered that cats possess what they call a hub and spoke network architecture. This means different specialized regions of the brain, each handling specific types of information, are all interconnected through central hubs. These hubs allow rapid communication between distant brain regions, enabling cats to quickly integrate sight, sound, smell, touch, and past experience into a unified understanding of their environment. When a cat hears a sound, sees movement, and smells something familiar all at once, their brain doesn't process these as separate events. Instead, within milliseconds, all this information flows together, creating a complete picture of the situation. This neural architecture also demonstrates impressive neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself based on experience. Kittens are born with brains that are still developing, and the experiences they have during their first few months of life literally shape the structure of their neural networks. A kitten, raised in an enriched environment with varied sensory experiences, social interaction, and opportunities to explore, develops more complex neural connections than one raised in isolation. This plasticity doesn't entirely disappear in adulthood either. Adult cats continue to form new neural pathways as they learn, though the process becomes less pronounced with age. The cat brain also contains specialized structures that support their unique way of life. The olfactory bulbs, located at the front of the brain beneath the frontal lobe, are remarkably large for a creature of the cat's size. These bulbs process scent information, and their size reflects just how important smell is to feline existence. The hippocampus, tucked deep within the brain, plays a crucial role in memory formation and spatial navigation, allowing cats to remember the layout of their territory and recall experiences from years past. The amygdala, another deep structure, processes emotions, particularly fear and aggression, helping cats respond appropriately to threats. There's also the caudate nucleus, a small structure near the thalamus that has captured researchers' attention in recent years. This region plays an essential role in what scientists call approach attachment behavior, the tendency to seek closeness with particular individuals. It's involved in social bonding, in the formation of relationships, in the desire to be near those a cat has grown to trust. Studies of this region suggest that cats are far more socially oriented than their reputation for independence might suggest. Their bonds with humans and with other animals are neurologically real, wired into the very structure of their brains. What becomes clear, looking at all these structures working together, is that the cat brain is anything but simple. It's a sophisticated organ, evolved over millions of years to support a particular way of being in the world. It's built for hunting, for climbing, for navigating three-dimensional spaces with ease. It's built for forming social bonds when beneficial, and for independent survival when necessary. It's built to remember, to learn, to feel, to dream. And it's all happening inside that small, elegant head, every moment of every day. To understand the mind of a cat, we must first understand how cats perceive the world, for their reality is painted in entirely different colors than our own. The sensory systems of a cat are tuned to different frequencies, attuned to different stimuli, creating an experience of existence that we can only begin to imagine. Let's start with sight, perhaps the most obvious of the senses. A cat's eyes are large relative to their head size, and there's a reason for this. Those eyes are precision instruments, designed for hunting in conditions that would leave us stumbling in darkness. The secret lies in the construction of the eye itself. At the back of each eye sits a layer called the tapetum lucidum, a reflective surface that sits behind the retina. When light enters the eye, it passes through the retina, where it's detected by photoreceptor cells. But any light that isn't immediately absorbed bounces off the tapetum lucidum and passes through the retina a second time, giving those photoreceptors another chance to capture it. This is why cat eyes shine in the dark when light hits them, that eerie green or gold glow that catches us off guard. It's also why cats can see using roughly 1/6 the amount of light that humans need. The retina itself contains two types of photoreceptor cells, rods and cones. Rods detect light and motion, but not colour. Cones detect colour, but need brighter light to function. Cats have a much higher density of rods than humans do, which enhances their ability to see in dim conditions and to detect even the slightest movement. This makes perfect sense for an animal that evolved to hunt at dawn and dusk, those twilight hours when prey is active, but light is scarce. But this advantage in low light comes with trade-offs. Cats are not blind to colour as once believed, but their colour vision is limited compared to ours. They have two types of cone cells, allowing them to see blues and greens, but the reds and pinks and purples that enrich our visual world appear to them as shades of grey and muted yellow. Their world is not black and white, but it's certainly less saturated than what we experience. Additionally, their visual acuity, the sharpness of their vision, is significantly lower than ours. While humans with normal vision can see fine details at 20 feet, a cat would need to be at 6 feet to see the same details equally clearly. What they lack in sharpness, though, they make up for in motion detection. A cat can spot the slightest flicker of movement, the tiniest twitch of a potential prey animal, even in their peripheral vision. A cat's visual field is also different from ours. They can see roughly 200 degrees around them without moving their head, compared to our 180 degrees. However, their binocular vision, the area where the view from both eyes overlaps and creates depth perception, is narrower than ours. Still, it's precise enough for their needs, allowing them to judge distances with the accuracy necessary for those spectacular leaps they're known for. Interestingly, cats have difficulty seeing objects that are very close to them. Anything within about a foot of their face becomes blurry. This is why, when you hold a treat close to a cat's nose, they often seem to lose track of it. In these moments, they rely on their other senses to compensate. Now, let's turn to hearing, where cats truly excel. If you've ever watched a cat's ears swivel independently, tracking sounds from different directions, you've witnessed one of nature's most sophisticated acoustic systems. Those ears aren't just rotating randomly. Each ear can move independently through an arc of 180 degrees, and they contain over 30 muscles that allow for this precise control. This gives cats the ability to pinpoint the exact location of a sound with remarkable accuracy. A cat can determine the location of a sound to within 3 inches from a distance of 3 feet, an ability that proves invaluable when hunting small, rustling prey in tall grass. The frequency range of cat hearing far exceeds our own. Humans can hear sounds ranging from about 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. Cats can hear down to around the same lower limit as us, but their upper limit extends to 64,000 Hz, more than 3 times higher than we can perceive. This means that an entire world of ultrasonic sound exists for them, sounds that are completely silent to us. They can hear the high-pitched squeaks of mice, the ultrasonic calls of rodents communicating with each other, sounds that reveal the presence of prey long before we would know anything was there. This also means that our modern environment, filled with electronic devices emitting high-frequency sounds, creates an auditory landscape for cats that is far more complex and potentially stressful than what we experience. The inner ear contains more than just the organs of hearing. Deep within are the semicircular canals, fluid-filled structures that detect motion and orientation. These canals are essential to a cat's legendary sense of balance. They're constantly sending information to the brain about the position of the head, whether the cat is right side up or upside down, whether they're moving or stationary. This is the system that enables the famous righting reflex, that ability to twist midair and land on their feet when they fall. It all happens unconsciously, the brain receiving signals from the inner ear and automatically sending commands to the muscles to rotate the body into the proper orientation. Then there's smell, perhaps the sense that differs most dramatically between us and our feline companions. A cat's nose contains approximately 200 million odor-sensitive cells. Humans have about 5 million. This means that a cat's sense of smell is roughly 40 times more powerful than ours. They don't just smell things more strongly, they detect chemicals and compounds that we would never notice, building an olfactory map of their world that is impossibly rich and detailed to our noses. But cats have an even more remarkable olfactory ability. In the roof of their mouth sits a small organ called the vomeronasal organ, also known as Jacobson's organ. This is essentially a second nose, but it's specialized for detecting pheromones and other chemical signals that regular olfactory receptors can't pick up. When a cat does that peculiar behavior called the Flamen response, where they open their mouth slightly, curl back their lips, and appear to be grimacing or sneering, they're actually drawing air across this organ. They're sampling the chemical information in their environment, reading messages left by other cats or animals, detecting signals about reproduction, territoriality, identity, emotional state. This is chemical communication invisible to us, but for cats, it's like reading a detailed newspaper about everything and everyone who has passed through the area. This powerful sense of smell shapes how cats interact with their environment in ways we often don't appreciate. When a cat rubs their face against furniture or against your legs, they're not just showing affection, they're also depositing scent from glands located on their cheeks, chin, and forehead. They're marking their territory, but also creating a familiar scent landscape that provides comfort and security. When multiple cats live together, they often engage in allo-rubbing, rubbing against each other, which mingles their scents and creates a shared colony odor. This communal smell helps them recognize each other as part of the same group. The sense of touch in cats is equally sophisticated, though perhaps more subtle. Their entire body is covered in fur, and each hair is connected to nerve endings that detect the slightest pressure or movement. When you pet a cat, you're not just touching their fur. You're stimulating thousands of these sensitive nerve endings, which is why some cats find petting so pleasurable, while others find it overstimulating. The response varies between individuals, and even varies on the same individual, depending on their mood and the location being touched. But the most specialized touch receptors are the whiskers, those long, stiff hairs protruding from the face, above the eyes, and even on the back of the front legs. Whiskers are more than twice as thick as regular hairs, and their roots extend 3 times deeper into the tissue, connecting to a region of the brain called the barrel cortex. This region is remarkably similar to the visual cortex, and it allows cats to create something like a 3-dimensional map of their surroundings using only touch. The whiskers are so sensitive that they can detect changes in air currents, allowing a cat to navigate in complete darkness by sensing how air flows around objects. When a cat is moving through a narrow space, their whiskers spread wide to measure the opening. If the whiskers touch both sides, the space is too narrow for their body. This is how cats seem to possess an uncanny ability to know whether they can fit through an opening without needing to try first. Interestingly, touching a cat's whiskers triggers an automatic blinking response, a protective reflex to prevent eye injury. The paw pads also contain dense concentrations of touch receptors, allowing cats to feel texture, temperature, and vibration through their feet. This sensitivity helps them test surfaces before putting their full weight down, helps them judge the stability of a branch or ledge, helps them feel the vibrations of prey moving through the ground. It's yet another dimension of sensory information that feeds into their understanding of the world. And finally, taste, which in cats is quite different from what we experience. Cats have far fewer taste buds than humans. Where we possess roughly 9,000, cats have fewer than 500. This doesn't mean they taste nothing, but their gustatory world is more limited than ours. Interestingly, cats lack functional sweet taste receptors entirely. They don't taste sweetness the way we do. This makes sense for an obligate carnivore, an animal that must eat meat to survive. They have no biological need to detect sugars in plants. Instead, their taste receptors are tuned to detect amino acids like umami, that savory, meaty taste that's found in high concentrations in muscle tissue. Recent research has shown that cats are particularly sensitive to compounds found in fish, which explains the strong preference many cats show for fish-based foods. The rough surface of a cat's tongue isn't just for grooming. Those tiny backward-facing hooks, called papillae, help to rasp meat off bones. But they also contain taste buds that sample food as the cat eats. Combined with their powerful sense of smell, taste helps cats evaluate whether food is safe, whether it's nutritious, whether it's worth eating. Often, if a cat refuses food that smells wrong to them, it's not just pickiness. Their senses are detecting something off that we would miss, some sign of spoilage or contamination that their survival instincts warn them away from. All these senses work together, feeding information into that sophisticated brain, building a moment-by-moment model of reality that guides every decision, every movement, every response. When a cat sits and surveys a room, they're not just seeing what we see. They're detecting air currents with their whiskers, tracking sounds beyond our hearing, sampling scents that tell elaborate stories, feeling vibrations through their paws. They exist in a sensory reality far richer than ours in some ways, more limited in others, but always uniquely feline. Sleep dominates a cat's life in a way that seems almost extravagant to us. On average, cats sleep between 12 and 18 hours each day. Some sleep even more, particularly the very young and the very old. This means that roughly 2/3 of a cat's existence is spent in slumber, a fact that seems remarkable until you remember their evolutionary history. Wild cats, the ancestors of our house cats, are solitary hunters. They don't have the pack cooperation that allows canids to hunt in shifts. Instead, a single cat must conserve energy between hunting attempts, sleeping during the hours when prey is less active, awakening when opportunities arise. This pattern persists in domestic cats, even though most no longer need to hunt for survival. But this sleep isn't just rest. It's during these long hours of slumber that some of the most fascinating cognitive processes occur. Scientists first began to understand this in the 1960s, when French researcher Michel Jouvet conducted groundbreaking studies on feline sleep. Jouvet discovered that cats, like humans, experience different stages of sleep, and that they spend significant time in what's called REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement. During REM sleep, the brain becomes highly active, showing electrical patterns similar to waking states. The eyes move rapidly beneath closed lids, darting back and forth as if watching something invisible. In humans, this is when we experience our most vivid dreams, and Jouvet's work suggested that cats likely dream as well. He observed that during REM sleep, cats exhibited specific behaviors. Their paws would twitch as if running, their tails would flick, their whiskers would move. They would make small chirping or mewing sounds. Sometimes they would appear to be engaging in hunting behaviors, even though they remained lying down. Jouvet went further in his experiments. He disabled a particular mechanism in the brainstem that normally prevents the body from acting out dreams, causing temporary muscle paralysis during REM sleep. When he did this with cats, something extraordinary happened. The sleeping cats began to actually act out their dreams. They would stand up, still asleep, and go through elaborate hunting sequences. They would stalk invisible prey, pounce on nothing, and perform the distinctive neck-biting motion used to dispatch prey. This provided compelling evidence that cats don't just experience random neural activity during sleep. They appear to be replaying and processing experiences, running through scenarios, practicing behaviors in the safety of slumber. A cat's sleep cycle is different from ours. Humans typically enter REM sleep about 90 minutes after falling asleep, and it occurs only a few times per night. Cats, however, enter REM sleep much more quickly, usually within 15 to 20 minutes of dozing off, and they cycle through it repeatedly throughout their long sleep periods. Each REM phase lasts only 2 to 3 minutes, much shorter than human REM periods, but they occur many more times over the course of a day. This means cats spend a substantial portion of their sleeping hours in this dreamlike state. So, what do cats dream about? We can't know for certain, of course, can't peer directly into their sleeping minds, but based on the behaviors observed, on the brain activity measured, on what we understand about how memory and sleep interact, researchers have formed educated hypotheses. Cats likely dream about their daily activities. A cat who spent time hunting in the garden probably dreams of stalking through grass, of the thrill of the chase. A cat who played with particular toys might dream of batting at those objects. Cats likely dream of other cats they know, or of their human companions. They might dream of places they've explored, of comfortable spots where they like to rest, of routes they regularly travel through their territory. Like humans, their dreams probably incorporate emotional experiences, replaying moments of excitement, fear, contentment, frustration. The twitching and movements during REM sleep are explained by a mechanism that doesn't work perfectly. The brain sends signals to the muscles to move, to run, to pounce, just as it would during waking life. But another system, located in the brainstem, is supposed to paralyze the muscles during REM sleep to prevent acting out these commands. This atonia, as it's called, keeps both humans and cats relatively still while dreaming. But it's not 100% effective. Small movements leak through, the twitching paws, the moving whiskers, the flicking tail. These are echoes of the dream world breaking through into physical reality. Kittens spend even more time in REM sleep than adult cats. This makes developmental sense. Kittens are learning about the world at a phenomenal rate, forming new neural connections constantly, acquiring motor skills, social skills, hunting skills. REM sleep appears to play a crucial role in consolidating these new memories and abilities. As cats age, the amount of time they spend in REM sleep decreases somewhat, though they continue to dream throughout their lives. Between periods of REM sleep, cats also experience non-REM sleep, sometimes called deep sleep or slow wave sleep. During this phase, brain activity slows significantly, breathing becomes regular and even, and the heart rate drops. This is when the body engages in physical restoration, when tissues repair themselves, when the immune system strengthens, when growth hormones are released. For kittens, this is when bones grow longer and muscles develop. For adult cats, this is when the day's minor damages are mended, when energy stores are replenished. Cats also engage in light sleep, sometimes called catnapping, which allows them to rest while remaining somewhat alert to their surroundings. During these brief periods, which might last 15 to 30 minutes, a cat can wake instantly if necessary. You might notice that when a cat is catnapping, their ears continue to swivel towards sounds, and they can go from apparently asleep to fully alert in a fraction of a second. This ability to rest while maintaining vigilance is another evolutionary adaptation, a way to conserve energy while still being ready to respond to threats or opportunities. Interestingly, domestic cats have adapted their sleep patterns to match their human companions to some extent. While they maintain their crepuscular nature, being most active at dawn and dusk, many house cats shift their deepest sleep to occur at night when their humans are sleeping, and adjust their active periods to coincide somewhat with their owners' waking hours. This flexibility demonstrates the cognitive adaptability of cats, their ability to adjust their natural rhythms based on their social environment. Some researchers believe that dreaming in cats, as in other animals, serves important cognitive functions beyond simple replay of daily events. Dreams might help cats problem solve, working through challenges in a safe, consequence-free environment. They might help process emotional experiences, reducing the intensity of stressful memories. They might allow cats to practice motor sequences, reinforcing the neural pathways that control complex movements. In essence, dreams might be a form of mental rehearsal, preparing the cat for future encounters by allowing the brain to simulate various scenarios. The fact that cats spend so much time in this dream state, that their brains remain so active during sleep, suggests that what we casually dismiss as mere rest is actually a vital component of feline cognition. While we might see a cat curled up, apparently doing nothing, inside that sleeping head, entire experiences are unfolding. Memories are being processed, skills are being refined, and the neural networks that make a cat who they are continue their endless work of learning, adapting, and preparing for whatever comes next. Memory forms the foundation of identity, of learning, of intelligence itself. Without memory, each moment would exist in isolation, disconnected from what came before, unable to inform what comes after. For cats, memory is not just a passive recording of experiences. It's an active, dynamic system that shapes how they interact with their world, how they recognize friends and foes, how they navigate their territory, how they predict outcomes based on past events. The memory systems in cats are surprisingly sophisticated. Research has revealed that cats possess both short-term and long-term memory, though the characteristics of each differ from what we experience. Short-term memory in cats, sometimes called working memory, functions for very brief periods. A cat can hold information in working memory for roughly 30 seconds to 1 minute. This might seem limited, but it's perfectly adequate for immediate tasks. When a cat sees a mouse run under a couch, they need to remember for just long enough to position themselves and wait for the mouse to emerge. They don't need to remember it for hours. Long-term memory, however, is where cats truly shine. Cats can retain memories for 10 years or longer, particularly when those memories are associated with strong emotions or important survival information. This isn't speculation. It's been demonstrated in carefully controlled studies. Researchers have shown that cats can remember the location of hidden food or objects for extended periods, far longer than dogs in comparable tests. One famous experiment compared canine and feline memory by having both species watch food being hidden in one of several boxes, then preventing them from accessing the boxes for varying lengths of time. Dogs could remember which box contained the food for up to 5 minutes. Cats could remember for up to 16 hours. But memory in cats isn't just about remembering where things are. It's deeply intertwined with emotion, and this emotional component makes certain memories particularly sticky. A cat who had a traumatic experience at a veterinary clinic may remember that location and associate it with stress for years afterward. Even the smell of the clinic, the sound of barking dogs in the waiting room, the sight of the carrier they travel in, all these become linked to the memory of past discomfort, triggering anticipatory anxiety long before arriving. Similarly, positive experiences create lasting positive associations. A cat who associates a particular sound, say the can opener or the rustle of a treat bag, with receiving food will remember that association essentially forever. These are examples of what psychologists call episodic-like memory, the ability to remember not just what happened, but where and when it happened, along with the emotional context. Cats demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of object permanence, a cognitive milestone that human infants don't achieve until around 8 months of age. Object permanence is the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they're out of sight. If you hide a toy under a blanket while a cat is watching, the cat knows the toy is still there and will investigate. They can solve increasingly complex versions of this test, handling visible displacement tests where they watch an object move behind multiple screens, and even invisible displacement tests where the object is hidden in a container that moves behind a screen, and then the object is removed from the container while behind the screen. When the empty container is shown, cats will search behind the screen for the object, demonstrating that they understood the object must have been removed and left somewhere. This is considered stage 5 object permanence, the same level achieved by 2-year-old human children. Procedural memory, the memory of how to perform specific actions, is particularly strong in cats. Once a cat learns how to do something, they remember it for extraordinarily long periods. This is why cats who learn to open doors, cabinets, or manipulate various latches retain that knowledge indefinitely. They don't need to relearn each time. The motor sequence becomes encoded in their nervous system. This also explains why cats who have access to outdoors remember the locations of hunting spots, hiding places, and pathways through their territory even after long absences. Their spatial memory, the cognitive map they carry of their environment, persists with remarkable fidelity. Cats also demonstrate observational learning, the ability to acquire new knowledge by watching others. Kittens learn hunting techniques by observing their mothers, not purely through instinct. Studies have shown that kittens who watch their mother successfully hunt become more successful hunters themselves than kittens who don't have this opportunity. But observational learning extends beyond kittenhood. Adult cats can learn new behaviors by watching humans or other cats. They might learn to ring a bell for food after watching another cat do so. They might figure out how to turn on a faucet after watching a human manipulate the handle. They observe, they remember what they've seen, and then they experiment with applying that knowledge themselves. The emotional dimension of memory in cats can't be overstated. Memories in cats are filed away with emotional tags that influence how those memories are later recalled and used. A place associated with positive experiences becomes somewhere the cat seeks out. A person associated with gentleness and good things becomes someone the cat approaches with trust. Conversely, associations with fear, pain, or stress create lasting avoidance behaviors. This is why positive reinforcement works so effectively in training cats, while punishment often backfires. The goal is to create positive emotional associations with desired behaviors, building memories that make the cat want to repeat those actions. What's particularly interesting is that cats seem to have a sense of time, though not in the precise way humans track minutes and hours. They develop what's called an internal clock, largely based on circadian rhythms and routine. A cat who is fed at specific times will begin to anticipate those times, becoming active and vocal as mealtime approaches, often with remarkable punctuality. This suggests they're tracking the passage of time internally, comparing current conditions to remembered schedules. Some researchers believe cats can distinguish between different intervals of time, understanding that 5 minutes is different from 30 minutes, even if they couldn't count the minutes explicitly. Research has also revealed that cats possess what's called social memory, the ability to remember specific individuals and their relationship with them. A cat can remember humans they've encountered, distinguishing between family members and strangers even after extended separations. They can remember other cats they've lived with or encountered, recalling whether those were positive or negative interactions. This social memory influences their behavior when they re-encounter these individuals. A cat reunited with a favored human after months or even years apart will often immediately display recognition and affection, proof that the memory of that relationship has endured. The stability and longevity of feline memory raises profound questions about the depth of cat consciousness. If a cat can remember experiences from years ago, if they can recall specific individuals and places and events, then their subjective experience of time must possess a certain continuity. They're not simply living moment to moment. They carry their past with them, and that past shapes how they perceive and respond to their present. In a very real sense, a cat's memories make them who they are, the accumulation of a lifetime of learning, feeling, and experiencing, all encoded in the neural networks of that small but sophisticated brain. Within every house cat, no matter how pampered or well-fed, lies the heart of a hunter. The hunting instinct is not a behavior that cats choose to engage in or ignore based on need. It's hardwired into their nervous system, an imperative etched into their DNA over millions of years of evolution. Understanding this instinct is essential to understanding the feline mind, because hunting is not just something cats do. It's fundamental to how they think, how they play, how they perceive and interact with the world. The ancestors of domestic cats were solitary predators of the deserts and grasslands. Unlike pack hunters who could share duties and cooperate, each wild cat had to secure food on their own. This required a hunting strategy focused on small prey, creatures like rodents, birds, lizards, and insects. These prey animals are individually small, providing only modest nutritional value, which means a cat needs to make multiple successful hunts each day to survive. Studies of feral cats, domestic cats that have returned to living without human support, show that they may hunt and kill 10 to 20 small prey animals daily, just to meet their energy needs. What's crucial to understand is that hunting behavior in cats is not directly controlled by hunger. A cat who has just eaten a full meal may still pursue prey if the opportunity arises. The hunting instinct operates independently of satiation. This makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. In the wild, prey availability is unpredictable. A hungry cat might not encounter prey for hours or days. But a cat who has recently eaten might suddenly come across an easy opportunity. By maintaining the hunting drive regardless of hunger, cats can take advantage of all available opportunities, catching prey even when they don't immediately need it. They can cache excess food for later, or, in the case of mother cats, bring food back to their kittens. This disconnect between hunger and hunting explains why well-fed domestic cats still hunt. It's not cruelty, it's not maliciousness, it's simply their nature expressing itself. The sight of a bird, the sound of rustling in grass, the quick darting movement of a small creature, all these trigger an automatic response, a cascade of instinct that's difficult for a cat to suppress, even when they have no nutritional need to hunt. The hunting sequence in cats follows a characteristic pattern. It begins with stalking, that slow, low-to-the-ground approach, body pressed close to the earth, movements controlled and deliberate. The cat fixes their gaze on the prey, pupils dilating, whiskers pushed forward, every muscle tensed. They advance in stops and starts, freezing whenever the prey seems alert, moving only when attention wanders. During this phase, the cat's famous patience comes to the forefront. They can hold a position for minutes or even hours, waiting for the perfect moment. When the moment comes, the cat pounces. This explosive burst of movement is what all that stalking builds toward. The hindquarters wiggle slightly in preparation, weight shifting to the back legs, and then the launch, a combination of power and precision. If the pounce is successful, the prey is pinned beneath the cat's paws. Then comes the kill bite, a specific, targeted bite to the back of the neck, designed to sever the spinal cord of small prey quickly and efficiently. But often, particularly with house cats who have had less practice, you'll see behavior that looks like play after the capture. The cat releases the prey, then pounces again. They bat it with their paws, toss it in the air, let it run a short distance before recapturing. This appears cruel from our perspective, but it serves a practical purpose. Many prey animals have defensive weapons. Mice and rats have sharp teeth. Birds have beaks and talons. Snakes can bite. By exhausting the prey first, by ensuring it's too tired or dazed to fight back effectively, the cat reduces the risk of injury when delivering the final bite. For a solitary animal who can't rely on others to hunt if injured, avoiding even minor wounds is crucial. Play in cats is essentially practice hunting. When a kitten bats at a dangling string, they're rehearsing the paw strike they'll use on prey. When they pounce on a toy mouse, they're perfecting their jump. When they carry a toy in their mouth, they're practicing the transportation of prey. The sudden bursts of activity, known as the zoomies, when a cat races around the house for no apparent reason, are probably related to the sudden bursts of speed needed in hunting. All these behaviors, which we find amusing and endearing, are the cat's brain maintaining and refining the neural patterns that govern predatory behavior. Mother cats play a crucial role in teaching hunting skills to their kittens. Around 4 to 5 weeks of age, kittens begin to show interest in prey, and mother cats take advantage of this. She'll bring live prey back to the nest, allowing the kittens to interact with it in a safe context. She demonstrates hunting techniques, showing them how to stalk, pounce, and deliver the kill bite. Kittens who have this opportunity to observe and practice with their mother become significantly more successful hunters than kittens raised without this teaching. This demonstrates that while the basic hunting drive is innate, the refined techniques that make hunting successful are learned. Interestingly, even cats who never have access to live prey, who grow up entirely indoors with only toys to hunt, still exhibit these behaviors. Their brains are built for hunting, and they'll direct that drive toward whatever targets are available. This is why interactive play is so important for indoor cats. Without opportunities to express their hunting instincts through play, cats can develop behavioral problems. The pent-up predatory energy may redirect toward inappropriate targets, attacking their owner's feet under blankets, ambushing legs as people walk by, or becoming destructive with furniture. Providing appropriate outlets through regular play sessions with wand toys, allowing the cat to complete the full sequence of stalk, chase, pounce, and capture helps satisfy this deep need. One of the behaviors that most baffles and sometimes distresses cat owners is when cats bring prey, dead or alive, into the house. Why would a well-fed cat do this? Several theories attempt to explain it. One is that cats view their home as their territory, and they're bringing prey back to cache it in a safe location, just as a wild cat might do. Another is that they're exhibiting teaching behavior, similar to what mother cats do with kittens. Since most house cats are spayed or neutered and have no offspring, they may be transferring this teaching instinct to their human companions, attempting to show us how to hunt. A third possibility is simply that they want to consume or play with their catch in the safety of home. Regardless of the motivation, it's a sign that the cat feels secure in the home environment, secure enough to bring valuable resources there. The hunting instinct also influences how cats respond to visual stimuli. Their vision is optimized to detect motion, particularly the quick, erratic movements characteristic of small prey animals. This is why a cat will ignore a perfectly visible toy lying still on the floor, but will pounce immediately if that same toy moves. It's why laser pointers are so effective at triggering play. The quick red dot mimicking the movements of fleeing prey. It's why cats become transfixed by windows, staring at birds and squirrels outside, their pupils dilating, their tails twitching, sometimes making that distinctive chattering sound, a sort of rapid clicking of the teeth. This chattering seems to be a combination of excitement and frustration, the hunting instinct fully activated but unable to complete. What all this reveals is that the hunting drive is not peripheral to feline nature. It's central, woven through every aspect of how cats think and behave. Even in our homes, surrounded by comfort and regular meals, our cats remain, at their core, predators. Their brains are constantly in hunting mode, assessing, calculating, ready. The rustling of plastic bags, the movement of a foot under a blanket, the flutter of a curtain in a breeze, all these activate those ancient neural pathways, triggering behaviors that have been passed down through countless generations. Understanding this helps us see that when cats hunt or play or stare intently at seemingly nothing, they're not being strange or difficult. They're simply being cats, expressing the deepest imperatives of their nature. For years, scientists believed that cats didn't truly communicate with each other, that they were essentially silent creatures who interacted through body language and scent alone. This turned out to be dramatically wrong. Cats possess a rich vocal repertoire, capable of producing up to 21 distinct sounds, and perhaps even more that we simply haven't identified yet. What's particularly fascinating is that domestic cats have developed forms of communication specifically designed for interacting with humans, sounds that their wild ancestors rarely or never made, suggesting that living with us has actually shaped how cats communicate. The meow is the most recognized cat sound, and it holds a special place in feline-human interaction. Adult cats rarely meow to other cats. When they do, it's usually in aggressive or mating contexts, but they meow constantly to humans. This is a behavior that extends from kittenhood into adulthood only in domestic cats. Kittens meow to their mothers, alerting her to their location, signaling hunger or distress, requesting attention. In wild cats, this behavior typically fades as the cat matures, since adult cats don't maintain close social bonds. But domestic cats have learned that meowing gets responses from humans, and so they retain this juvenile form of communication throughout their lives. The variety within meowing is extensive. A short, soft meow might be a greeting, a simple hello when you enter a room. A drawn-out, more insistent meow often indicates a request, the cat asking for food, water, or to be let outside. Some cats develop specific meows for specific requests, and their humans often learn to distinguish these different meows. A demand for food sounds different from a request for attention, which sounds different from a complaint about something. Research has shown that cats actually modify their meows based on context and based on the responses they receive from their humans. They're learning what works, what gets them what they want, and adjusting their vocalizations accordingly. Some researchers believe that cats have learned to manipulate the emotional impact of their meows. There's evidence that cats embed a high-frequency element in certain meows, a frequency similar to the crying of human babies. This embedded sound seems to be harder for humans to ignore, triggering an instinctive response, an urgency to address whatever the cat needs. This could be a form of acoustic manipulation, cats essentially exploiting our parental instincts to make their requests more compelling. Purring is perhaps the most mysterious of cat sounds. We recognize it easily, that low, rhythmic, vibrating hum that seems to emanate from deep within the cat's body. For a long time, scientists couldn't figure out how cats produced this sound. We now know it involves rapid contraction of muscles in the larynx, causing the vocal cords to vibrate, and the glottis, the opening between the vocal cords, to rapidly open and close. Air passing through this rhythmically opening and closing structure creates the purr, and it happens on both inhalation and exhalation, which is why purring seems continuous. The meaning of purring is not as straightforward as commonly assumed. Yes, cats often purr when content, when being petted, when relaxing in a sunny spot, when nursing kittens, but they also purr in other contexts. Mother cats purr while giving birth, presumably in pain. Injured cats purr. Sick cats purr. Cats nearing death sometimes purr. This suggests that purring isn't just an expression of happiness. It may be a self-soothing behavior, something cats do when they need comfort, when they're in distress. Some researchers have even proposed that the specific frequency of cat purring, around 25 to 50 Hz, may have healing properties, potentially promoting bone growth and tissue repair. While this remains speculative, it's an intriguing possibility that adds another layer to the mystery of this ubiquitous feline sound. Chirps and trills are short, friendly vocalizations, often used as greetings. When a mother cat wants her kittens to follow her, she makes this sound. Adult cats use it when greeting familiar humans or other cats. A cheerful, welcoming sound that seems to say, "Follow me, pay attention, hello friend." It's one of the most pleasant cat sounds, a sign of positive social engagement. Then there are the aggressive or defensive sounds. Hissing is unmistakable, a sharp, sudden release of air that sounds remarkably like a snake. This is no coincidence. The hiss is meant to startle and intimidate, to make the cat seem larger and more dangerous than they might be. It's often accompanied by defensive body language, flattened ears, an arched back, fur standing on end. Growling and snarling serve similar purposes, low rumbling warnings that escalate in intensity as the cat becomes more agitated. These sounds all mean the same basic thing: stay back, leave me alone, I am prepared to fight if necessary. Yowling and howling are long, drawn out, sometimes haunting sounds. In unaltered cats, these are the sounds of mating communication, males and females calling to each other. In neutered cats, yowling can indicate distress. A cat locked in a closet will yowl. A cat in pain may yowl. Elderly cats, particularly those suffering from cognitive decline or sensory loss, may yowl seemingly at random, perhaps because they're confused or can't see or hear well enough to orient themselves. Chattering or chittering is one of the most curious cat sounds. It happens when a cat sees prey but can't reach it, typically birds outside a window. The cat's jaw vibrates rapidly, producing a stuttering sound. No one knows precisely why cats do this. Some theories suggest it's frustration, excitement, or even a practice motion for the killing bite. Another theory proposes that it mimics the sounds of prey, potentially luring birds closer. In wild cats, there's even speculation that it might help the cat test and prepare the jaw muscles for the exact bite it's planning. Whatever the reason, it's a fascinating behavior that reveals the intensity of the hunting instinct. But vocalization is only one part of cat communication. Body language conveys enormous amounts of information, often more than sounds. The position of a cat's tail is particularly telling. A tail held high with a slight curve at the tip signals confidence and friendliness. A tail held low or tucked between the legs indicates fear or submission. A puffed up tail, fur standing on end, signals extreme fear or aggression, an attempt to appear larger. A twitching or lashing tail suggests agitation or excitement, the movements becoming faster and more pronounced as the cat's emotional intensity increases. Ears tell their own story. Forward-facing ears indicate alertness and interest. Ears rotated to the sides, sometimes called airplane ears, suggest uncertainty or mild fear. Ears flattened back against the head signal fear or aggression, a protective measure to keep them from getting bitten during a fight. Ear position changes rapidly as a cat's mood shifts, providing a real-time readout of their emotional state. Whiskers also communicate. When relaxed, whiskers rest naturally to the sides of the face. When alert or excited, whiskers push forward, extending the cat's sensory reach. When frightened or aggressive, whiskers may be pulled back against the face, both to protect them and as part of a broader defensive posture. Eye contact in cats carries different meaning than in humans. Prolonged staring is a challenge or threat. Cats who are comfortable with each other, or with trusted humans, often engage in slow blinking. This relaxed, deliberate closing and opening of the eyes is thought to be a sign of trust and affection. Some people call them cat kisses, and returning a slow blink to a cat who offers one can strengthen your bond with them. Then there's scent communication, invisible to us, but vitally important to cats. When a cat rubs their face against objects or people, they're depositing pheromones from scent glands located on their cheeks, chin, and forehead. This marks the object or person as familiar and safe. Cats also have scent glands on their paw pads and at the base of their tail. The scratching behavior, so frustrating for furniture owners, serves multiple purposes. It maintains claw health, stretches muscles, and leaves both visual and scent marks, claiming territory and providing information to other cats. What emerges from understanding all these forms of communication is a picture of cats as socially sophisticated beings. They're not the aloof, uncommunicative animals of stereotype. They're constantly broadcasting information, constantly reading the signals of others, constantly engaging in complex social interactions. They've even adapted their communication specifically for their relationship with humans, developing vocalizations and behaviors that bridge the gap between species. When a cat meows at you, rubs against your legs, slowly blinks at you, they're not just performing instinctive acts. They're trying to communicate, to connect, to share something of themselves. And the more we learn their language, the richer our relationship with them becomes. The question of whether cats have emotions, whether they feel as we feel, has long been debated. For years, some people dismissed the idea of animal emotions as anthropomorphism, as humans projecting their feelings onto creatures who were thought to be driven purely by instinct. That view has collapsed under the weight of scientific evidence. We now know with certainty that cats, like all mammals, possess emotional systems that generate feelings, that create subjective experiences of the world. The emotional architecture of the mammalian brain is ancient, evolutionarily speaking. Deep structures like the amygdala, the hypothalamus, and parts of the limbic system generate what neuroscientists call primary emotions, fundamental feeling states that all mammals share. Research has identified 7 basic emotional systems in mammals, including cats. These include the seeking system, which drives exploration and curiosity, the fear system, which responds to potential danger, the rage system, which generates anger and aggression, the panic or grief system, which responds to separation from bonded individuals, the play system, which motivates social play, the lust system, which drives reproductive behavior, and the care system, which generates nurturing and protective feelings toward offspring. Cats experience all of these. When a cat explores a new environment, carefully investigating every corner, they're expressing the seeking system, driven by curiosity. When they flatten their ears, hiss, and back away from something frightening, that's the fear system activating. When they attack aggressively, that's rage. The distress calls of kittens separated from their mother, and the increased vocalization sometimes seen in adult cats who've lost a companion, reflect the panic and grief system. The playful antics of kittens and the occasional play behavior in adults demonstrate the play system. The intense behaviors seen in intact males and females during mating seasons reflect the lust system, and the devoted care that mother cats give their kittens, grooming them, protecting them, moving them to safety when threatened, shows the care system in full operation. What's particularly interesting is how these emotional systems manifest in domestic cats compared to their wild ancestors. In the wild, adult cats are largely solitary. The social bonds formed during kittenhood typically dissolve as cats mature and establish their own territories. But domestic cats often maintain social bonds throughout their lives, both with humans and sometimes with other cats. This suggests that domestication, or perhaps just the consistent exposure to social companions, has modified how certain emotional systems express themselves in cats. The care system, for instance, is typically strongest in relation to offspring. But many cat owners report seeing care-like behaviors between adult cats who live together, one grooming another, or curling up together for warmth and comfort. Some cats even display nurturing behaviors toward other species, adopting orphaned kittens of different animals, or showing gentle, protective behavior toward human infants. This extension of the care system beyond its primary biological function demonstrates the flexibility and complexity of feline emotions. Recent research has revealed that cats are emotionally attuned to humans in ways that were previously underestimated. Studies have shown that cats can recognize human emotional states. They distinguish between happy and angry facial expressions. They respond differently to different vocal tones. When researchers present cats with recordings of their owner's voice speaking in different emotional tones, the cat's behavior changes according to the emotion conveyed. They approach more readily in response to happy or neutral tones, and become more cautious or withdrawn in response to angry tones. Even more remarkably, cats can detect human emotions through scent alone. In experiments where cats were exposed to sweat samples from humans experiencing fear, happiness, or neutral states, the cats showed behavioral changes corresponding to the emotional state of the person who produced the scent. Fear scents triggered stress-related behaviors. This suggests that cats are continuously monitoring the emotional states of the people around them, using multiple sensory channels to assess the emotional climate of their environment. The nature of the bond that forms between cats and their humans has also been scientifically examined. Researchers have applied attachment theory, originally developed to understand human infant-parent bonds, to cats. In these studies, cats and their owners are separated, then reunited, and the cat's behaviors are observed. The findings reveal that many cats display what's called secure attachment. They explore comfortably when their owner is present, show signs of distress when separated, and actively seek proximity and comfort upon reunion. This is the same pattern seen in securely attached human children. Not all cats display this pattern. Some show anxious or avoidant attachment styles, which mirrors the variation seen in human attachment. But the fact that these patterns exist at all demonstrates that cats form genuine emotional bonds with their humans, bonds that influence their sense of security and well-being. The question of whether cats feel love as humans understand it remains somewhat philosophical. Love in humans involves complex cognitive processes, abstract thoughts, cultural concepts. Cats likely don't experience love in that elaborate, conceptual way. But do they feel affection? Do they prefer the company of certain individuals? Do they seek closeness and comfort from those they know? Do they show signs of distress when separated from bonded individuals? The answer to all these questions is yes. Whatever we choose to call it, cats clearly form emotional attachments that are subjectively meaningful to them and behaviorally observable to us. Cats also demonstrate empathy, or at least a sensitivity to the emotions of others. Owners frequently report that their cats behave differently when they're upset or ill. Some cats will seek out a crying person and offer physical comfort, climbing into their lap or lying beside them. Others might maintain a closer watchful presence, even if not physically touching. This isn't universal. Cat personalities vary widely, and some are more socially responsive than others. But the fact that many cats do respond to human distress suggests they're capable of recognizing emotional states in others and altering their behavior accordingly. What seems clear from all this research is that the emotional life of cats is far richer than many have assumed. They're not simple stimulus response machines. They feel joy and fear, contentment and frustration, affection and anger. They form attachments, experience loss, seek comfort, and offer companionship. Their emotional expressions might be more subtle than those of dogs, harder for us to read initially, but they're no less real. The purr of a contented cat, the head bump of greeting, the choice to curl up beside you. These aren't meaningless reflexes. They're expressions of emotional states, of preferences, of bonds that matter to them. Understanding this helps us treat our cats with the respect and empathy they deserve, recognizing them not as aloof independents who tolerate our presence, but as emotional beings capable of genuine relationship. Intelligence is a difficult concept to define, especially across species. Each animal evolves to be intelligent in ways that serve their particular ecological niche, their survival needs, their social structure. Judging a cat's intelligence by asking whether they can do what a dog can do or what a primate can do misses the point. The question should be, are cats intelligent in ways that matter for being a cat? And the answer is unequivocally yes. Cognitive studies have revealed that cats possess problem-solving abilities comparable to those of a 2-year-old human child. This isn't meant to be disparaging. 2-year-old humans are remarkably cognitively capable. They understand cause and effect. They can plan simple actions to achieve goals. They have theory of mind, the ability to understand that others have different knowledge and perspectives than they do. Cats demonstrate many of these same capabilities. The classic measure of cognitive development is object permanence, which we discussed earlier in the context of memory. But it's worth emphasizing that cats can solve complex hiding tests that require understanding not just that objects continue to exist when hidden, but that objects can be moved from one location to another while out of sight. This level of reasoning requires the ability to mentally represent objects and track their movement even when you can't see them. It's a form of abstract thinking. Cats also demonstrate understanding of cause and effect in practical contexts. They learn that pushing a doorknob makes a door open, that pressing a certain button makes water flow from a faucet, that knocking objects off high surfaces results in attention from humans. They apply this understanding to solve problems. If they want something on a high shelf, they'll figure out how to climb or jump to reach it. If they want to open a closed door, they'll try different methods, manipulating the handle, pushing at the door, reaching underneath it. This is trial and error learning, but it's also more than that. It's hypothesis testing, trying different solutions, and learning which ones work. Observational learning in cats demonstrates another dimension of intelligence. Cats don't just learn from their own experiences, they learn by watching others. A cat who sees another cat successfully open a door will try that method themselves. A cat who watches a human turn on a faucet may figure out how to do the same. This ability to learn vicariously, to extract useful information from observing others, is a cognitively sophisticated skill. It requires attention, memory, and the ability to understand that the actions of others have consequences that could be relevant to oneself. Social intelligence in cats is particularly interesting because it challenges the stereotype of cats as aloof and antisocial. While it's true that cats are not obligate social animals like dogs, who evolved to live in packs, domestic cats have proven capable of complex social cognition when the context calls for it. They form social hierarchies in multi-cat households, usually without serious aggression, through subtle cues and negotiations. They recognize individual humans and other cats, remembering past interactions and adjusting their behavior accordingly. They understand pointing gestures from humans, a skill that requires understanding that someone else is trying to direct your attention. They can differentiate between familiar and unfamiliar people, not just by sight, but by sound and smell. Cats also demonstrate what's called social referencing, looking to a trusted person for emotional cues when encountering something ambiguous. If a cat encounters a novel object and seems uncertain, they might look at their owner's face, gauging the owner's emotional reaction. If the owner seems calm and positive, the cat is more likely to approach and investigate. If the owner seems fearful or negative, the cat is more likely to avoid it. This shows that cats understand that humans have information about the world that might be useful, and they use our reactions to guide their own behavior. The trainability of cats has been underestimated, largely because they're less motivated by social approval than dogs. Dogs are eager to please, which makes them naturally inclined to cooperate with training. Cats need a different approach, but with methods that appeal to their motivations, particularly clicker training, combined with food rewards. Cats can learn a surprising range of behaviors. They can learn to sit, come when called, give paw, jump through hoops, and even walk on leashes. They can learn to use human toilets instead of litter boxes. They can learn to tolerate grooming, nail clipping, and other handling that they naturally find unpleasant. What limits cat training isn't intelligence, it's motivation and attention span. Cats won't perform endlessly the way some dogs will. But if the training sessions are short, rewarding, and consistent, cats prove quite capable of learning. Cats also display what might be called creative problem solving. Faced with a challenge, they don't just try one approach and give up. They experiment with variations. If pushing doesn't open a door, they might try pulling. If jumping straight up doesn't reach something, they might find a step to climb on first. This flexibility in problem solving The ability to adjust strategies based on results reflects genuine cognitive processing, not just instinctive behavior. Perhaps most telling is how cats navigate complex environments. A cat living in a house builds an incredibly detailed mental map of their territory. They remember the location of resources like food, water, litter boxes, favorite resting spots. They remember pathways through the space, knowing which routes are quickest, which allow them to stay hidden, which give the best vantage points for observing. They remember routines and schedules, anticipating events like meal times, when certain doors might be opened, when household members typically wake or sleep. This requires memory, certainly, but also ongoing cognitive processing, constantly updating their mental model of their environment as conditions change. The evidence suggests that cats are thoughtful, capable of a degree of planning and intentionality that goes beyond simple reactive behavior. They're not little furry robots responding to stimuli. They're beings who think, who solve problems, who learn from experience, who adapt to circumstances. Their intelligence might not look like ours or like a dog's, but it's real, it's considerable, and it deserves recognition. Every time a cat surveys a room before leaping, every time they try a new approach to a problem, every time they remember and apply past experience to a current situation, they're demonstrating the cognitive sophistication that evolution has granted them. As we come to the end of our journey through the feline mind, a picture has emerged that might surprise those who think of cats as simple creatures. What we've discovered is a brain of remarkable complexity, processing a flood of sensory information from a world we can only partially perceive. We've seen memory systems that can hold information for decades, encoding not just facts, but emotions, building a continuity of self across time. We've explored the dreaming mind, replaying the day's experiences, rehearsing skills, processing emotions, all while the body rests. We've witnessed the power of instinct, the hunting drive that persists even in the most pampered house cat, expressed through play and predatory behavior that connects today's domestic cats to their wild ancestors. We've decoded a communication system far richer than the stereotype of the aloof, silent cat would suggest. A repertoire of sounds and body language and chemical signals that facilitates both feline-feline and feline-human interaction. We've discovered emotional depth, the capacity for joy and fear, attachment and grief, affection and anger, bonds that form and persist, making cats not mere companions of convenience, but genuine emotional partners. And we've recognized intelligence, problem-solving ability, observational learning, social understanding, all the cognitive capabilities that allow cats to navigate their world, to adapt, to learn, to grow. What becomes clear is that beneath that inscrutable gaze, behind those luminous eyes, exists a subjective experience of being, a consciousness that is aware, that feels, that remembers, that chooses. The mind of a cat is not a mystery because there's nothing there. It's a mystery because there's so much there. Depths we're only beginning to plumb. Complexities we're only starting to appreciate. Living with a cat means sharing space with an alien intelligence, a mind shaped by different evolutionary pressures, perceiving a different sensory world, driven by different imperatives. Yet despite these differences, connection is possible. Bonds form, understanding grows. In the slow blink exchanged across a room, in the purr that vibrates through a quiet evening, in the choice to sit nearby, in 1,000 small interactions, Cats and humans communicate something essential, building relationships that enrich both species. As you observe your cat today, tomorrow, in the days to come, perhaps you'll notice these things with fresh awareness. The flick of an ear tracking a distant sound, the focused stare as they watch something you cannot see, the sudden sprint across the room, hunting instinct activated by who knows what trigger, the contented curl beside you as they drift into sleep, perhaps to dream of whatever cats dream of. Behind it all, a mind at work, processing, feeling, remembering, being. If tonight's exploration has given you a new appreciation for these remarkable creatures, for the sophistication hidden within that small furry package, then we've accomplished what we set out to do. The natural world is full of wonders, and sometimes those wonders live right beside us, purring on our laps, if only we take the time to truly see them. Thank you for spending this time with us here at Bedtime Biology. If you enjoyed this journey into feline cognition, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. We have many more explorations ahead, other species to investigate, other mysteries to unravel. And if you have suggestions for future topics or thoughts about what we covered tonight, share them in the comments below. Until next time, may your curiosity remain alive, your mind stay open, and your sleep be peaceful and deep.